Ladies and gents, welcome back. Yesterday's conspiracy theory seems to be tomorrow's headlines on the mainstream media news. Now, a litmus test on what may be coming up usually is the fact checkers. Have a look at what the fact checkers are telling you is not true, and you might find some of the truth in that. Right now, all over social media, we have factcheck.org and other institutions saying the number of fires at food processing plants this year aren't unusual, contrary to those who suggest that there are something nefarious about these, in quotes, mysterious fires. We have also Reuters jumping on this. Fact check, food processing plants fires in 2022 are not part of a conspiracy to trigger U.S. food shortages. Social media users are sharing the claim that there are planned increase in fires in food processing plants to purposefully create food shortages. However, there is no evidence to support this claim. So Charlie Kirk here on Twitter saying food processing plants don't just accidentally burn down at the rate that they certainly don't coincidentally become landing pads for plane crashes at the rate that they are. Our food supply is under attack in America. The question is by who? He's asking a question here. He's not making any statement of fact. But yeah, you can read the articles. Fact check articles are typically, I mean, if you have read any of them, they're just none of what we're reporting or none of what's being reported is true. Whether it's Biden's laptop or the efficacy of masks. Food plant fires fuel conspiracy theories. So, yeah, the fire at the Purdue Farm soybean facility in Virginia on Saturday was relatively small. Firefighters had it under control in about an hour after arriving on the plant. It remains fully operational. So, well, what are some of these conspiracy theories we were told by the media? Yeah, tobacco companies buried the evidence from the real dangers of smoking. That was a conspiracy theory. U.S. government collected dead children to test the effects of nuclear radiation. Oh, it turned out that was true. U.S. military planned on doing bad things to Americans and blame it on Cuba. Turns out Kennedy stopped that from happening, and it was true. Apparently, mafia was a thing. That was a conspiracy theory. The oil and gas industries hid the truth of leaded gasoline. Well, there's a viral video out there right now talking about specifically that. That's a fact. That is a fact. And we have here as well another Walmart facility just up in fire. Unbelievable. So we have here from the counter signal, fire erupts in California food processing plant. And many will have missed it due to the recent Roe. Just always defaulting to that one. Roe versus Wade news, because that's all the buzz. But yet another fire has erupted in a food processing plant, this time in Fresno, California. Another fire at a food processing plant. On Sunday, a fire broke out at Saladino plant in Shaw Avenue and Golden State Boulevard, which required employees to be evacuated. It isn't clear what the extent of the damage is yet. Just hours later, firefighters were called back to respond to an ammonia leak. Curiously, this latest fire has received mostly no coverage, with Google searches producing more stories about how an increase in food processing plant fires is a conspiracy theory. This is true. I spent about a good hour trying to find more information, and Google's flooded with this stuff. Except it isn't a theory. As reported by the countersignal, food processing plant fires and other destabilizing events are rapidly increasing in frequency, with the number of fires more than doubling throughout the lockdowns. The last fire at food processing plant we covered occurred on April 20th, less than 2 weeks ago. The Purdue Farm soybean plant in Chesapeake, Virginia. No one was injured, but soybean products were destroyed or had to be removed. So we have here from James Melville. So what's with all these fires and explosions at large food processing plants across the U.S.? Just another coincidence? And these are these are not headlines, not major headlines. They're buried on the last pages of any newspaper. But yeah, lots and lots of cases here. We have more here. Another tweet. Chesty Puller. Are American food processing plants being systematically destroyed is the question. So we have dates here. Monday, April 18th, April 13th, another one. The 11th, March 31st, 28th, 16th, another one, 16th. These are fires, boiler explosion, an airplane crashed into one of them, another explosion, fires, and they just keep continuing. Keep going. Interesting. It's gotten so ubiquitous that Fox News host Tucker Carlson felt it prudent to address the unignorable increase in food processing plant fires. I just wanted to nail this down so our viewers understand. There have been confirmed over a dozen disabling accidents at food plants over the last month, Carlson said, after reporting on yet another fire that occurred days after another food processing plant was crashed into by a plane. I'll go to this Tucker Carlson clip here.
So just moments before we went to air tonight, a plane apparently crashed at a General Mills plant, a food plant in Covington, Georgia. 6 tractor trailers were reportedly on fire. You're seeing pictures from the scene right now. This is the second time in a week that something like this has happened. On April 14th, the plane crashed into the Gem State Processing in East Idaho. What's going on here? Well, the story gets weirder. Food processing plants all over the country seem to be catching fire. A couple of days ago, a fire destroyed the headquarters of Azure Standard, one of the largest organic food distributors in the country. At the end of last month, a fire severely damaged a fresh onion packing facility in South Texas. In Oregon, a potato chip processing plant to support a boiler explosion that sent workers to the hospital. Here's a news report on that.
Eastern Oregon, where crews are battling a major fire at a potato chip processing plant. Air 12 flew over the scene at Shearer's Foods on Highway 207 in Hermiston. We're told the fire was caused by an explosion of a portable boiler there. 2 people were taken to the hospital.
So industrial accidents happen, of course, but this is a lot of industrial accidents at food processing facilities at the same time the president's warning us about food shortages. They're getting hit by planes and catching fire. What is going on here exactly? Jason Rantz hosts a radio show in Seattle and joins us to put it into perspective. Jason, good to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah, obviously, when something happens every so often, you obviously hope that there's no significant damage and certainly no one gets hurt, but you kind of write it off. It's not that big of a deal. Accidents happen. But when you've got well over a dozen food processing plants and warehouses getting destroyed or seriously damaged over just the last few weeks at a time when the food supply is already vulnerable, it's obviously suspicious, and it could lead to serious food shortages. That's why some folks are now wondering, well, number one, what's going on? And you've got some people speculating that this might be an intentional way to disrupt the food supply.
Wait, may I ask you to pause there really quick? Can I just ask you, I just want to nail this down so our viewers understand. There have been confirmed over a dozen disabling accidents at food plants in the last month, over a dozen.
Absolutely, and we're talking about some really significant plants. The Taylor Farms facility in Salinas, California was completely destroyed by a fire last week. We've had 2 major potato processing plants in Belfast, Maine and Warden, Washington that were completely gutted, which is happening at a time where we already have a potato shortage globally. You were talking about the onion supply at that Rio Fresh, but it's not just produce plants. Last month, there was a fire that took out a Nestle food plant out in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and that's impacting frozen food brands like Hot Pockets or Stouffer's, which maybe you might buy if you can't get fresh food from a warehouse that just exploded. And that Shearer's food facility you just mentioned in the open, I mean, that's the only West Coast facility that they operate. So there is some significant concern, of course, that this is going to impact the supply chain. Now, to be clear, the timing is very suspicious. It's obviously concerning. Police are saying that these fires are due to faulty issues with equipment, so they're not saying that this was intentional. Either way, it's obviously going to have some significant, implications in us getting our food.
Yeah, I mean, an hour ago, a plane crashed into a General Mills facility. We'd already planned this segment. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The onus is on people who think that's a conspiracy theory to explain what is going on. What are the odds of that? I have no idea. Jason.
I'll leave this clip in the description down below so you can share this out for other people to see. But the question is, yes, how many times can something occur before you actually start to take a second back and go, is this intentional? I mean, now correlation is not causation, but this many things happening all in succession. Now, he mentioned potatoes, and I was following the story about the Prince Edward Island potatoes. Now, it looks like on April 1st, they released the restrictions on Prince Edward Island potatoes. If you aren't familiar with that, I'll leave a link in the description down below of the story that I did talking about specifically that. There was just a few cases of potato wart in a couple of fields in Prince Edward Island, for which millions of potatoes had to be destroyed, which was a tragedy because potato wart is just a cosmetic thing and not actually something that would be a problem for consumption. So a lot of potatoes having to be destroyed, over 2 potatoes found. Very interesting. Anyway, I'll leave a link to that in the description down below. But yeah, what the question of the day is, well, what do you think about this? Is this a conspiracy theory, or is this something that it should be worrying and maybe looked into a little bit more than, oh, it was just an accident, no worries, everybody look away. Nothing to see here. Anyway, we'll see you in the next video. If you're not subscribed yet, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and we'll see you in the next video. Keep on trucking.